Well, it has been a long journey, but welcome to what is probably going to be the last Ancient Inheritance video of this season. I have wandered around the map, collecting a little bit of personal loot for myself, and I've finally gotten everything that I need to clean out the shop. Our guild has opened up and collected all of the guild treasure chests that were worth getting, and my classification levels are relatively high. They'll still go up maybe another notch or two. So it's time for all of us to converge on the priest and start spam killing it. Speaking of classification levels, I just hit level 12, and that'll let me boost a class up. Now, as you can see, I focused primarily on warriors, and I also made sure my healers were strong. I dumped the rest of my assets into rangers, expecting that I would wind up drafting some, and other than Iseria, I really didn't draft any rangers. And because of that, I'm going to go ahead and push my soul weavers up a couple of class levels here. There we go. That gets them to level 12. You know what? One more. Level 13. Now my soul weavers and my warriors are ready to fight the priest, and Iseria can just deal with being level 10. Now, if you did not go the warrior route, instead you chose thieves or mages, you will still be able to follow this guide. Just look for thieves and mages that do similar things that to what the warriors I draft do, as far as damages, debuffs, etc. If you pick knights, then you're probably in for a rough ride. I just can't see how knights are useful at all in Ancient Inheritance. Maybe one or two of them, but by and large as a class. I'm taking a peek at this relic just on the outside chance there is a epic level class booster, but there is nothing there that interested me, so I'm just going to cancel and move on and wander over here to the priest to begin my attacks. Now, I recorded 10 different fights for the priest, just to give you an idea of a variety of team comps, but all of the teams focus on some fundamental basics of the fight. Whatever team you build, as long as you stick to your class enhancements and you focus on these fundamentals, you should be able to do fine. Things you need to know about the priest. He hits really freaking hard, so you have to have a soul weaver, and a good one. Maybe even two. The priest debuffs you, so you need to have cleansers, and I mean, he debuffs you almost every single round, so it's got to be a consistent, reliable cleanser. The priest eventually gets counterattack skill, so you need to be able to strip that away if you want to push all the way to the end. The priest is susceptible to defense break, which is nice, but is immune to most debuffs. And on its 5th turn, if you don't have 3 or more debuffs on you, it does a 100% defense penetration attack that wipes out your whole team. So you need to make sure you're able to lay down debuffs. Warriors are nice in this because they have a lot of artifacts that spam debuffs. They've got Cradle of Life, they've got Junkyard Dog. Thieves don't have as many debuffing artifacts. I mean, there's Torn Sleeve, but not a lot beyond that. But thieves are able to put debuffs down a lot more often than warriors. Rangers pretty much have Song of Stars and Miss Confile, and I don't know, maybe I'm missing some, but that's about it. Mages are in a good place for this fight. Mages spam debuffs left and right, and mages have artifacts like Sira-Ren that can spam debuffs. So, on this team, I took Kitty Clarissa. Kitty Clarissa is an all-in-one package. Her S2 strips, her S1 dual attacks, and her S3 cleanses. So she's a very good warrior, and she can wear Junkyard Dog or some other artifact to lay down burns. I took Luna because her damage is just fantastic, and she's got a defense break on her S3. Iseria is a very good pick because she can reset your Tamarinne, and she's got 3 debuffs as long as you're wearing Song of Stars, 3 potential debuffs on her S3, and her S3 also strips. Tamarinne is a fantastic healer because she is a pretty decent healer, especially if you soul burn her S1. When she transforms, she self-heals 100%, and she cleanses the whole team. And while in Idol's form, when she S3s, she strips. Now, you probably notice I didn't cleanse right there. And this is something important. The first attack by the priest puts poisons on everybody. and it's bait. It's trying to get you to use your cleanse. Don't fall for it. Save your kitty transform or save your Tam transform, but save something so that you can cleanse the second attack. Now the second attack puts defense break on everybody, and also a seal. So you lose your passives, and now you've got defense break. And if that third attack goes off while you're wearing a defense break, there's a good chance you'll lose some units. So you want to make sure you're able to cleanse that defense break before the boss takes a turn. And here I'm able to transform, heal up, and cleanse everybody of their debuffs so that I can take this third attack to the face and not die from it. Of course, I'm going to S2 and heal here. If your Soul Weavers are not high enough level, you might need to replace Kitty with a unit like Achates. You're going to get a lower score, but you're not going to die in the first few rounds. Anytime there's a defense break, if you burn Luna's S3 or S1, it does more damage than her S3. It was 225k attack from that. Now this third attack, wow, my Rangers are soft. This third attack puts attack break on people, which, you know, lowers your damage, but again is not something you got to worry about cleansing too terribly much. We are coming up on that fifth attack. We've got one more incoming hit, and then we need to start worrying about stacking debuffs. The Junkyard Dog is putting in work for us. This was very unfortunate. I don't even think we're going to have to worry about debuffs because I think we're dead. But you know what? This team, which didn't perform as well as I had hoped, still put out 1.3 million damage into the priest in one turn. In fact, if I had gotten a extra debuff on there, I bet we would have survived that wipe and probably could have pushed a little bit deeper. So that's the fundamentals of the team. You want a DPS unit, you want a defense breaker, you want at least one, if not two cleansers, you want at least one stripper, and you want a solid healer. So here's another variant of the same archetype of teams. Let me go over this again real quickly for us. We've got a defense breaker. Camilla has a 50% defense break on her S1, and if you soul burn it, it's 100% defense break. Camilla also dual attacks, making her a fantastic damage dealer because she does great damage in her own right, and she's going to dual attack with Sigret. Sigret is loaded with debuffs. She's got bleeds on her S1, on her S2, as well as some other debuffs, so she should take care of all debuff problems. Emilia is my healer and cleanser. Her S3 is an AoE cleanse, heal, and shield, and her S2 pushes up and cleanses. I'm debating here on pushing up Sigret for the attacks and debuffs, but instead I go ahead and push up Camilla, and I'm hoping for the defense break, but I didn't get it, so that's going to hurt my damage. If I'd gotten the defense break, it would have been great. Now, Sigret, I recommend taking Sigret when the boss's health is below 50%, because when her health is below 50%, she does an extra swipe with this S2, and especially if there's a defense break up, that's just even more debuffs and damage. If the boss is over 50% health, Sigret can still work, you just lose that extra swipe. Here I am being baited by the poisons. I'm not going to take that bait. I want to save Emilia's cleanse for when we have the defense breaks up, which there they are. Defense breaks on almost, well, not on everybody, but on important units. The dual attack with C.Lilias is really nice because it either goes with Camilla, who defense breaks, it goes with Emilia, who heals, or it goes with Sigret, who does damage. So when taking a random dual attacker, consider making sure that you take 3 units that all do something nice if they jump in with C.Lilias. There's my defense break. I had to burn to get it, but I wanted to secure it. And unfortunately I took some attack breaks, but you know, Sigret did not get the attack break, and that's what's important. She's my big damage dealer. I need to stack up some debuffs so that I can survive the next phase. So I am going to use my S3 here for the attack break, and as soon as I do it, I kind of regret it. Because after the boss does his big AoE attack, he gets a counter attack buff, and you've got to remove that. You've either got to have one of your debuffs be buff block, or you've got to have a stripper. One of the two to keep that counter buff from applying, because when the boss has counter, it's just going to wipe you out in the last few phases. I'm going to go ahead and try to extend the defense break. We put a few more bleeds on. There's the poison attack, and now the very next attack is going to be the big defense pen hit, and all of those one-turn buffs that are still on them are going to fall off, so I need to lay down as many debuffs as possible. I've got the defense break on already, but I'm worried those bleeds will fall away and he'll only have 2 debuffs, so I'm going to hope for a dual attack. I don't get it, so I only have 2 debuffs and he wipes my whole team. So this was a bit of a disappointing score, a little bit of RNG, but it was still about, what's that, about 800k, so really not that bad. I mean, if you're doing more than 500k, you're pulling your weight in your guild, in my opinion. So let's throw together another team here. I really like this team. It is loaded. Achates is the perfect healer. She cleanses on her S3, and her S2 cycles herself, and she's very fast with the cycling, especially if she's on Tome, though I think I put her on Rod to facilitate the healing in this. Ken defense breaks on his S1 and his S2. He burns on his S1. Helga has a defense break on her S1 and her S2. She has an attack buff on her S3, and I put Junkyard Dog on her, so she's going to throw out some extra burns. H.Yufine has a strip on her S3 to help take care of that annoying counter buff if we ever actually get to the 3rd phase, and H.Yufine also has a defense break on her S1. My only regret here is I took too many defense breakers. I should have held some back for the next fight so I could have had more defense breaking units to go around to give me more options in the fight. Here's that defense break attack from the boss that you want to save for, and the boss gives himself an attack buff. H.Yufine can strip that and do a tremendous amount of damage, over 200k damage from her S3, and that was without an attack buff. I can only imagine what that would have been if I had used Helga's S3 to attack buffer. So here comes Achates, cleanses all that away and fully heals. She is probably one of the best Ancient Inheritance healers. Helga does respectable damage, 75k, and now Ken's focus is ready, and he can use his ultimate skill, which does a lot of damage, especially if he's attack buffed, which he isn't. So even not attack buffed, almost 100k damage. Oh, that's another thing about H.Yufine. Her S2 is also a strip. Now her S2 does less damage than her S1, but H.Yufine is great for this fight. A strip on her S2 and on her S3 makes it easy to get past that counterattack debuff after the priest does this AoE. So I am now on the phase where he's getting ready to do that big Death Pen AoE attack. Let's see if for the first time I can actually make it through. So I soul burn Ken, hoping for some burns. Don't get it. Maybe I get a burn off the S1. I do get it. I just need one more burn. Hopefully Helga can lay it down. He resisted that. I'm worried the priest is going to cut Helga, so hopefully she doesn't, but I need one more hit on the priest. Okay, good. All I need is this burn to stick, and it didn't proc. So we're wiped. Don't have 3 debuffs. I'm torn between damage artifacts on the DPS versus debuff artifacts. I think it really might be best to put debuff artifacts on your DPS units to try to help push past that phase. Okay, so you may not have noticed, but a day has passed and we have killed the priest for the first time. So the priest has come back, this time a lot stronger. Last time when I used this team, I took Kitty Clarissa instead of Momo, but my Iseria died so easily, I decided to try to use Momo as a healer. Now I'm losing Kitty Clarissa's dual attacks, but Momo cleanses as good, if not better, than Kitty Clarissa for taking the debuffs off, and she's an extra source of healing that I'm hoping will keep my Iseria alive. I lose the Junkyard Dog artifact on Kitty Clarissa, so I'm kind of relying on my Iseria to bring me the extra buffs that I need to push past that break phase. Now, one nice thing about taking Momo with me is it lets me transform Tamarinne right away, get that attack buff on Luna. There's no reason to S3, a Soulburn S1 will do more damage. So this looks to be lining up nicely. Momo is all the way back to the priest, so the priest will probably cut her and defense break everybody, and then she can heal up. I don't have souls to burn, so I don't want to risk the RNG on it, so I'll go ahead and use my S3 just to lay down some extra damage. And there's the defense break on everybody. Wow, so that almost killed Iseria. So I'm glad I have an extra healer here. Momo's S3 will heal up Iseria and push her far enough up she'll be able to S2 again. And that should take care of most of the debuffs, at least the debilitative ones. Tamarinne's going to attack buff, heal up, and push everybody up a little further. Yeah, so this worked out nicely. Now, I do regret not putting Junkyard Dog or Cradle of Life on Luna. It's hurting me a little bit in the debuff realm. The boss is immune to so much, I don't have a lot of options. So this second boss hits a lot harder than the first boss. Even with 2 healers, I'm barely staying alive. Okay, so did not get the defense break there, and Iseria died anyway, so I'm not going to make it past this next phase, because this next phase is the AoE attack that you need to have 3 debuffs on, and I just don't have any units that lay down debuffs, so I'm only going to get out of this with about 800k. So I need to rethink this run. It wasn't the best choice of characters for this fight.
Is it my turn? That must have been painful.
And I should have just been doing S1s there for a chance at a dual attack, because I had no way to survive this, no matter how healthy I was. Now this team was a cool team. I don't know why I didn't try this before. Emilia is my healer and cleanser. I've got Mediator Kawerik as a cleanser and an attack buffer. I've got Sigret for piles of debuffs, and I got Ken for defense breaks. It may look a little light on the healing, but you'd be surprised how well this team performs. So I am going to just S1. Everybody's going to take a turn, and I don't feel the need to waste my S2 at this point. The S1 from Mediator Kawerik pushes up, and that lets Sigret get an attack off. And now I can try to get a defense break and start working this down. Ken landed the defense break nicely. I'm going to go ahead and cleanse and attack buff. Primarily here, I'm less concerned about the cleanse and more about the attack buff. Remember, I do have Emilia here for additional attack buffs. I'm pushing Sigret up so that she can get a S2 swipe in. I don't have the souls to burn it, and unfortunately the boss is not below 50%. And I've got the EE for extra bleeds on, not the EE for higher extra attack swipe, so I only get the 1 attack out of it. I'm pretty pleased with the number of debuffs. Even though we're far away from stage 5, I'm feeling pretty confident that we will get past it here. Let's see. I'm going to just S1. I want to hold back that S3 for when things get really hairy. And of course, the attack break landed on both of my damage dealers. That's cute. Okay, so Ken's got his ultimate. Let's go ahead and use it. Okay, I've got a 2-turn, well, we're still 1 turn away from the break phase, so I'm going to go ahead and just rip this S3 because the defense break is up and get some good damage out there. It was only 400k. Guess I needed more debuffs. This will cleanse and put a barrier up. I mostly want the barrier to help with the health. The S1 will push up the highest CR unit, which will let me get the defense break off. That's 1, 2 debuffs. As long as Sigret puts a bleed on, she does, so we're not going to get wiped for the first time in this video. We're going to make it past phase 5. I'm going to burn the S2 just for a little bit of health and to get my Sigret up so she's got an attack buff and is ready to hit extra hard. As you can see, that AoE attack doesn't do a lot of damage as long as you have the 3 debuffs. Now, Mediator Kawerik has got a strip on his S2, so I pull off that counter attack buff, and that lets me push further. If you don't have a way to remove that counter buff, it's very difficult to live through this phase after a couple of counters. Ken sticks another defense break, and there's more AoE attacks, again with the defense break on my team, but Kawerik is ready with his cleanse and attack buff to the whole team. Such a busted unit. Even in PVE, he's a madman. I've got one more round before the boss gets his ultimate off, so I am just going to push Ken up to try to get a little bit more damage in, because once the boss takes a turn, everybody's dead. Wish I had the souls to burn this, but you know what? I will take it. So that was a really good run. So I highly recommend this team. It allowed me to do over 1 million damage on the boss on boss round number 2. Speaking of really high-end damage, a friend let me record a couple of his fights, and sorry for the video quality being a little degraded and for the jank sound. It was the best I could do with a screen capture off of a Discord stream, but I wanted you to see a couple other options. So here he's running the exact same team that I just ran. Well, exact same in the sense that it's got Mediator Kawerik as a cleanser and Fire Ken as a breaker. But he also ran Achates instead of Emilia. He decided the pushes and attack buffs that Emilia provides weren't worth the extreme healing that Achates provides. So that's another option. And he also took Conqueror Lilias. Now remember, Conqueror Lilias, we want Conqueror Lilias to be able to have synergy with at least 2, if not all 3 of the units for her dual attacks. If she dual attacks with Ken, that's defense breaks, damage, and burns. If she dual attacks with Mediator Kawerik, that's a small CR push for the next person in line. And if she dual attacks with Achates, you know what? It's not often noticed, but Achates does have an attack break on her S1, so that's a potential debuff that she can land. This team's a lot more stable in mine because Achates is a much stronger healer than Emilia is. Other than that, it's a very similar team. I will go ahead and speed this fight up because it's the next team that is really going to catch your eye, I think. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but let's use Taranor Guard. So, mad props to Tundra No Caps for thinking up this team. So Tam and Iseria, of course, a power couple for any class specialization. Cleanses, heals, strips, debuffs, breaks, more strips. They were made for Ancient Inheritance, so they're great to bring. And Kitty Clarissa with her dual attacks, and with Tamarinne being reset with her idle form dual attacks, allows us to use Taranor Guard. Now, whenever the boss is hit, the boss self-pushes a little bit, so that is something to be aware of, but Taranor Guard's team push keeps pace with the boss's self-push, so even though the boss is self-pushing with every action, Taranor Guard lets you kind of keep up with that, and that allows you to do some pretty impressive damage. Now, of course, if you can, load Taranor Guard up on a rage set. Tundra's rangers are pretty low level, and again, this is the second time we're fighting the priest, so it's the stronger, higher stat version, so he hits like a truck. But even though we have lost Iseria, we do have debuff artifacts, Junkyard Dog, on our warriors, so we're able to keep up with the debuff requirements. So here we are moving into the AoE damage phase. This is where we want to make sure we have at least 3 debuffs on the priest, or he will wipe us. And there's a burn from Junkyard Dog. We can get a defense break. Got a defense break, so... Oh, you know, with this push, we're going to get even more debuffs. So this is fantastic. This will heal us up. And one more debuff, and I think we're safe. Could S2 for the heal block, but I think it's safer to S1 and have the chance of Junkyard Dog proccing off of one of our units. It did, so this will not wipe because we had 3 or more debuffs. Now, we're going to have to eat one counterattack, and you can see these hit hard. So you want to make sure you strip that away. A burn S1 will not only strip but heal up the team. And now we don't have to worry about the counters anymore, and that clears the path for smooth sailing to the end of this fight. If Iseria was still alive, we'd be doing even more damage because we would have the target debuff from Song of Stars on here as well. Iseria also would have offered an extra layer of cleanse, of strip, in case Tam wasn't ready. And remember, Kitty's S2 is also a strip. You give up the dual attack, but it's worth it to get rid of that counterattack buff. So this will be the last attack from the boss before the big kill. This has an attack buff on it, which we all luck sacked and avoided. Any chance you get to burn Taranor Guard's S3, you should take it. It does significant damage, especially when it's burned into a defense break. Looks like we're going to get 1 or 2 more swipes due to Taranor Guard's pushes. That probably ends it, and here's the big AoE hit, but check out that score, 2.5 million. And we started at 976k, so that is almost 1.6 million damage from the Taranor God team. So that's a pretty nice one. Here's another team with Mui. Mui has a strip on her S3, and she gives an AoE attack buff. If you're running Camilla, even though Camilla can attack buff herself, it's important to have an external source of attack buff because the boss does strip and her attack buff is on a pretty hefty cooldown. So here is the S3 from Mui, which would strip the boss if he had any debuffs and gives everybody an attack buff. So now Camilla can start dual attacking. I'm going to use Sigret's S3 just to lay down a little damage. Now that the boss is below 50% health, we do get that second swipe in. Camilla S1 has a 50% defense break. We did not get lucky on that one. I want to reiterate again that there's no such thing as I don't have these units built. If you have these units, they're ready to use an Ancient Inheritance. Everybody starts at level 60, plus 15 Mola, full skill trees awakened, and all you have to do is just slap some jank gear on them. Sets matter more than stats, so don't worry too much about the stats. Stats apply at a 7-to-1 ratio, so your 70% crit damage neck is only giving 10% crit damage to the unit. If you've got a 21 speed boot, or sorry, 21 speed ring, only 3 speed is making it to the unit, so really don't fret about stats at all. It's meant to focus on the gear sets, not the stats, to make this event accessible to all levels of play. So you can literally just put whatever gear you've got laying around, focus on pen sets, focus on rage sets, focus on speed sets, things that give you bonuses like that. So Camilla is, I think she got her defense break on that attack, and she definitely got it there. I've got my S2 ready, and this is going to land a whole bunch of debuffs, and there's no way that boss will kill us with this AoE hit because we've got a ton of debuffs on us now. So we may sail right past phase 3. We do have the counterattack to deal with, so we're going to eat at least one counter hit, but Mui's S3 is ready. As long as this strips the counterattack, we're going to be in real good shape. And the Beast Tamer successfully strips the counterattack. So we're able to move forward. Man, this boss hits really hard. The pop killed Mui, but she did her job well. I will S3 heal Sigret, and the reason for that is the Rod of Amaryllis will heal the lowest health point person, so healing Sigret allowed the Rod to heal Camilla and help us push further into the fight. S2 for the cleanse, and I've got a good amount of debuffs. Sigret's S3 scales on the number of debuffs, so we did almost 200k damage with that S3. Should not have S2'd here because we were on the final attack and the boss was going to wipe. Should have used our S3 or RNG'd the S1 for a dual attack. But regardless, almost a million, no, not almost, over 1 million points on this run. 8, 9, 10, 11, about 12, 1.2 million points from this team into a phase 2 boss, which hits harder and has greater defense. So running a little low on units, so this 10th team will be the last one I demo today. We've got Helga, who's got an attack buff on her S3 for the whole team, and her S2 and S1 both have defense breaks on it, so that's our defense breaker. We've got Green Lots, who can push the team up and spam pretty decent heals. Angelica is also an attack buff spammer, and she has got a cleanse when she S3s now. And don't discount Lilibet. She's actually got a really good kit for this. Her S2 gives herself a 50% push, and if she lands a bleed, it's 100% push. So she cycles well and does pretty good damage. So, for example, here's the S2 attack. We landed bleeds, so it's 100% CR push, so she gets to take an extra turn. You do this into a defense break, and you will land a lot of damage. Even without a defense break, it was near 100k damage. And then you can use Lots to push her back up again and do the same thing again. So it's time we get a defense break going, and we got it. Here is the attack that puts defense breaks on everybody. We kind of luck sacked that. It didn't really defense break anybody. I guess it defense braked Helga. Lots can push, I could push Angelica up for the cleanse, but I think Helga's going to be okay. So we're going to push Lilibet up and just do some more damage into this nice defense break. If we get a bleed off this, we did, so she's going to 100% CR push and get another attack. As you can see by the amount of bleeds we're landing, I don't think we're going to have any problem. Oh, God. Okay, so we lost our defense breaker, and that's going to really nerf the damage we do. Should have timed the cleanse on Sinful Angelica a little bit better to try to make sure we had a way to pull that defense break off at the end of turn 2. Okay, we've come up to the phase where the boss is going to wipe us if I don't get 3 or more debuffs on us, so... Okay, so check this out. I'm going to push up Angelica. Angelica has got a 100% defense or attack break on her S1, and she dual attacks with Lilibet, who cuts, and if she lands 2 or more bleeds, we do pass the phase. So a good chunk of luck there. Everything went perfectly for us, so we made it into the phase. Unfortunately, we do not have any way to strip that counterattack buff, so we're just going to eat those hits. We'll heal up and try to survive them as much as we can, but this is one of the problems of taking a team without a cleanser is every time you hit the priest is going to counterattack you, and it just doesn't wear off. I mean, it wears off, but it wears off when the priest is ready to do his final AoE hit. down goes Lots, and I think we get one more hit off, and then down goes Angelica. Even if we get the dual attack, I think the poison kills her, well, the counter kills her. But still, that was another very respectable score. I hope these team ideas help you come up with ways to fight the priest in Ancient Inheritance. I will put additional team recommendations in the comment section as well as in the video description. And if you didn't go the warrior route, I think you might have made a mistake, but if you didn't go the warrior route, you can use the exact same team theories. Just replace warriors with mages or thieves that have similar kits or similar roles in the fight. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comment section, and if you enjoyed this video series, I'd appreciate it if you could give it a like and maybe even a subscribe. Have a great rest of your week.